Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to a GSL best of 3 between Cure in the top left as our blue TERRAN player and in the bottom right as our red Zerg playing for DKZ Gaming. It is of course Dark. Now Cure currently he's very hot. He is very hot, and it is not because he doesn't have AC. He has 2 ACs in his room is what I've heard actually, and multiple fans all pointed at his hands because once this guy touches the keyboard, my friends, does it catch on freaking fire. Flames come out of it. His mouse, it moves so quickly across the mousepad. The friction it creates has started fires in multiple places already. They had to change the location of the GSL studio because of him. It is now being played in a freezer to make sure that fires don't just randomly occur. This guy is hot. He is hot. All right? I'm not quite sure what happened with Cure. I want to say somewhere 3 months ago, someone gave him a pill on the street. And Cure usually not the type of guy, to take a pill from a random guy on the street. Cure tried to chase the guy. He's like, hey, who are you? Pew! Guy rounded a corner and disappeared out of sight. Don't know who it is, still. The street pharmacist. Cure's like, whatever. What's the worst that can happen, right? We're in Korea here, everything's safe. Pew! Chucks 2 of these pills. And his hands, they felt different after that. His rating on a League Luck, his results in tournaments have absolutely gone through the roof. Looks like a freaking beast. And the best part about all of it is that it looks attainable. If you are a diamond or a master or a gold TERRAN player and you look at Cure's play, you think to yourself, with a lot of practice, I could do that. You look at Clem, you look at Beyond. These guys, they target down 12 banelings before they reach the Marines. That is not Cure, Cure, he uses his brain, he uses strategies, he uses insane decision making. That is how he got so good. So we do believe that the pill that he got from the street pharmacist was, a pill of knowledge. At least that's what I believe. But there's, rumors are floating around definitely that something has happened with Cure. We're just not quite sure what. All jokes aside, he is freaking insane and has been freaking insane, specifically in the TERRAN versus Protoss matchup. And also in the TERRAN versus Zerg matchup, funnily enough, the matchup where you have to think the most, the TVT matchup, he's probably the weakest out of his three matchups. Feels like he's a little bit less secure there. He plays super safe often in TERRAN versus Protoss and just doesn't seem to lose at all. Now, double eBays here are coming out for Cure after a triple Reaper opener. Beyond has pretty much introduced this as the new standard, at least when it comes to Korean StarCraft 2. A lot of the Korean Terrans right now are opening up with triple Reaper openers, going into 2-on-1 type of follow-ups with a faster CC or a 4x follow-up. We've really seen it all. We've seen Banshee builds coming out of this. Beyond definitely the one to popularize this, and now we've seen a lot of other Terrans follow suit. Maru, Cure here. Seen some of the Europeans try it as well. They don't feel quite as comfortable with it, but they've been trying. Sometimes that's all you can do. Marines here are going to be spotted by these links, as this tech lab, of course, is a little bit vulnerable, as it is being placed on the outside here due to the positioning that these barracks have on this map. If you spawn on the bottom side, tech labs will be on the inside, which is absolutely fantastic. But that's not the case here. So Combat Shield is still going to be a little bit vulnerable. Dark is someone that might want to try and bust it. We do have a lot of links on the way here as well. The Baneling Nest is ready to finish up. And I think that Dark might be trying to go for a bust here. I have a feeling he might just be wanting to set this up. There's so many links here that Combat Shield is going to be absolutely huge, of course, to take out as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Are we trying to bust it? No, we're not. I feel like if that's worth it to do it at like the last second. So you just figure out the exact timing that Stim started. And if you see a second upgrade start on it, you know it's combat. You just add the times of Stim and combat together. And at like 60 out of 79 or something, you go in and take out the combat shields. I mean, that should be possible, and it would delay the initial move out of the Terran by quite a bit. Or at least weaken it severely. Throwing in a bunch of Banelings here I think might just be worth it. Especially if these tech labs are on the outside. For now, though, Cure 53 workers against the 57 of his opponent. Dark played very carefully. It still took a lot of damage from this hatchery against those Reapers, I guess. I didn't even quite realize that. That's quite a significant amount of damage. Funny thing here, of course, being that no real units got killed. Just the response that you have to do as a Zerg against these Reapers is usually already enough for the payoff of the Reapers. As you see, lots of Lings, lots of little Banelings as well out. Ling trying to scout for a move out, as he's a very odd patrolling path. He goes through the bottom here. It's just a single line, but yet he takes a different route every time. What a guy. Every little patrol move there is different. And we have a Ling coming in towards the third base now, trying to get some info on what's kicking off over there. Like, hey, is there any gases here? Where's your army? Maybe I can take out an SCV. Reapers are in position. We'll deal with this. As Marauders are already starting to be produced, Curious played a fairly passive game, except for the triple Reaper initially. We do have a Baneling run by here being set up. That's going to be 5 Banes. Most likely we'll wait for Baneling speed, which is going to be done in about 14 seconds from now. The first double drop makes its way over to the other side of the map. Now, these units do have 1-1, as there was a bit of an eBay rush out of this. So 2-2 is going to be extremely quick here. Look at that. These upgrades match up so well for Cure. And it's not like the worker count is extremely high for Dark either. Quite the contrary. It's only on 66 workers. Has a bit of cash in the bank. Has a single hatchery already in the main. So he's going to play Spire here. Gresvan often, by a lot of Zergs, considered to be quite a poor map in the late game against TERRAN. So the Mutalisk play does make some sense, allowing you to kind of finish it in the mid game, because the Muta is a true mid game unit. Once you start building Mutas, usually you don't really get out of Mutalisk unless it's very, very late into the game. Hellbats being produced right now from this factory, that is extremely rare to see. We're gonna get a major push here. This is a lot of Marines. This is a bunch of Marauders already as well. This was an 8 Rex. My apologies, I didn't quite catch this. So this is an 8 Rex with a 2-2 timing. And this is gonna hit like a freaking truck. Look at this. Up 2 upgrades, a crap ton of units, Hellbats being added in as well. Most of the time we see this type of build order with tanks, but because of the how expensive these upgrades are, these fast 2-2 upgrades, I think Kier said, no, actually, I'm just gonna get 2-2. I'm gonna just send these Hellbats across the map because they only cost minerals, no gas. And then we're gonna go for it. And look at this. This is quite a few Banelings, but the splits so far are okay. Banelings not quite reaching their destination. And they often say it's about the journey, not the destination. But that's not the case for the Baneling, because if the Baneling does not connect with these Marines, I think Cure might just be capable of pushing through here. +2 melee is on the way for Dark, but that is not going to be enough either, as Overlords are gonna get sniped. Drones being taken out, the Ling run by, Ling run by. Those are Mutalisk in the main base. Will start to work on those SCVs. That is a pretty big deal, but that's also 2k resources that Dark could have spent defensively. Instead, is just killing SCVs, and Cure doesn't give a crap about these SCVs right now. Cure is taking out his opponent. The Natural is going to take out a lot of these tech structures. Spire goes down. Banelings are aimlessly wandering around. Still a bunch of Banes, 18 to be exact. Worker count still favorable for Dark, but the game is over as Cure takes map number 1 here on Gresvan. Yeah, there's a reason why people call Cure Brains. You know, that was his nickname in high school as well. All of his friends called him Brains because he was so smart. Saying, what's up, Brains? Cure's like, don't call me that, guys. He's also very humble. All of his friends called him Humble Brains. Actually, it's also a true story. Humble Brains was his nickname in high school. Started with brains, and then I was like, guys, come on. I have brains just like the rest of you. I just use them better. Cure is the only guy in the world that uses 100% of his brains. That's why his friends in high school called him 100% brain as well. Or brains 100. It's also his nickname in high school. Humble brains 100 is actually what they call it. This is what I've heard, of course. I can't confirm like officially any of these stories. All secondhand stories that I've heard from, you know, his high school friends often contact me. It's like, man, how's it possible that Cure's in the rank 1 on Illegal, like they ask me? Because in high school, he wasn't known as Brains 100%. I say, guys, I have no clue either, but that's a great story. Did he have any other nicknames? And then, you know, they started talking about how great Cure was. No, and I completely understand that. I get that. I get that. Cure is a great person. That first game was sick, actually. It's such a cool little build. Like, you rush out these E-base faster, and then rather than going for the tanks, you add in the Hellbats because they cost a little bit less gas. Eventually, I guess you could switch into tanks, but there's no real point for it anymore. then you're always going to be up 2 upgrades when you go for the push at like 8 minutes. This was a very well thought out build. It really was. You don't really see eBay rushes that much, but when you see them, they often work surprisingly well. For how potent of a strategy it seems to be, I'm surprised by how little we see it. I recall a game between Rainer and Hero Marine at Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2021, which was played on Hardwire. I actually think it was game 4 or 5. I can't entirely recall which game it was, 4 or 5 on Hardwire. And Hero Marine opened up with a triple CC double eBay and just had these massive 8 Rex timings with a huge eco, or it's not a huge eco lead, but a huge upgrade lead. And those games got really close, and it always felt like that every single time I see a double eBay rush, it just works out so well for the Terran. Like you're in such a wonderful position often. I'm surprised we don't see more of that stuff. Anyway, Cure once again popping off here with those 2 Reapers. Trying his best to get a couple of these link kills in. Nice grenades as well. Connecting with the Queen for now. That's all he really needs. I mean, if you have a true connection with the Queen, then that's a good thing, of course. Oh. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Creep tumor towards the main base. Wants to connect those bases ASAP. There's 3 Reapers out right now. We see I think this is a different follow-up. It is a triple CC once again. I feel like this factory is way faster than the factory was last time. Could be wrong about this. This is like a really quick factory. Last time, of course, it was those eBays that were being thrown down at a high pace. This queen is fairly low. Dark needs to be somewhat careful. Only has, I think, 3 queens total. Yes. Uh-oh, this bad boy is perhaps in trouble. Don't have enough energy yet for a transfuse. This queen's going to be pushed toward the far back. Hidden in the storage room there, behind the minerals. Starport already on the way. We have a tech lab, so it's going to be either a tank or a Banshee build. It could be... Nah, if this is a tank, I'd be shocked. I think this factory is going to lift up. What is this? It's like a weird rally point. Yeah, okay. Gonna get a lift up, and what wouldn't completely surprise me is if we're gonna get a Banshee out of this starport. Or a Raven. If he gets a Raven? Oh, that would be something. Oh, if he gets a Raven, that would be something. Lame. Alright, it's going to just be most likely double Banshees in that case. Double Banshee with Cloak. So a fairly standard opener, except it was from a triple Reaper, which nowadays is also a standard opener. So really it's just standard opener into standard opener. We have Overlord speed coming out of Dark. So he's going to get some information. That is interesting. Says, hey, I need to know what's going on. And so far I haven't been capable of doing that yet. Now, this Reaper's in a little bit of trouble. Dark knows it, is going to try and catch it here. And will be capable of doing just that, as Lynx were just chilling on the high ground. 2 more Overlords popping out soon. We have a Queen going down on the 3rd base. That's real scary if you have no Reapers left on the map, because it's difficult to get any type of vision, to get any type of information as well. These Banshees are being popped out now. Did get scouted. So we have triple spores on the way for our man Dark. Oh, Superman. Double eBay is going down as well, but this is at a more standard timing, of course, as the triple barracks, I believe, is over here. No, it's just still 2 barracks, but still, this is all fairly standard. Combat shields should start ASAP, and we're going to see a swap with the factory and the starport eventually. The factory is going to start producing tanks at some point, while this starport will want to start producing a reactor medevac. So that is really the perfect swap here that we're waiting for, at least. That's what I'm kind of expecting. If there's not going to be a swap, I'd be shocked again. Banshee stays at home. Both Banshees so far have stayed at home. We do have the double eBays or the Evo chambers on the way as well for Dark. Could start using those because he has the cash available. There we go. Carapace as well as +1 melee. Starts 3 hatcheries at the same time. Base 4, base 5 and a macro hatch in the main. So that's a lot of money invested. That is not going to pay out for another minute or so. I wonder if, well, a little bit more than a minute even. I wonder if Cure can hit a bit of a timing before that truly kicks in, because there's like 900 minerals that you're wasting. Well, not wasting, but that you can't invest in anything defensively. That can be a pretty big deal. I mean, that is 6 queens that you could have had, right? Queens don't cost larva. Hatcheries don't cost larva. Oh. Now, this I love very much. This I love very much. That is very cool, actually. We have a Dropper Lord starting here. I'm surprised he goes with a damaged Overlord. Never use damaged Overlord for this type of stuff, unless your name is Dark, apparently. Then it's okay. And I wonder if Dark is going to wait until his opponent moves out, or... Yep, he definitely is. He's gonna wait for that move out. And then once he sees this army moving out, I think he's going to send them in. Here we go. First Overlord popping in right now. We have a Marine just patrolling. Let's take a look. Cure, first person view. Sees an Overlord go towards the natural, but probably thinks it's just a scout. That is not quite a scout. Also an Overlord in the main base. SCVs going down, both in the main as well as in the natural. And that is going to cost him a lot of workers. Cure still at pretty decent supply. Don't forget, lots of investment in these hatcheries, lots of investment in these Overlord drops. Yes, they cleared a lot of SCVs, but how bad is it really for Cure if Cure can take a base out for free here, while at the same time trying to push that far right side base? 73 workers out for Dark, starts 7 Hydras to try and spend some of his cash that he had floating. 81 workers. I mean, Cure is practically all in, and Dark is just continuing to harass him. So, you know, that was fun. 7 links going in towards the main base with the +1 upgrades are going to be capable of at least dealing with that 1 Marine. There should be no problem whatsoever. That's once again 7 more links going in towards the natural. This is not being cleaned up. There's like a standoff here between these units. We have a drop in towards the natural as well. Dark is having a good time with this. Dark is having a very good time with this, but Cure right now in the main base is trying to go for the throat. Cut out the head of the snake. What you always want to do against her. Cut out the head of the snake. Target fire on those Banes was not perfect. Couple of Marines too many. Ended up going down here. Tank will come in and help out, hopefully. Helbets from the low ground as well, shooting. Tank will fall to the Hydras, and that is a pretty big deal. At the same time, we had a Baneling run by towards his third base, taking out 6 more workers. 58 workers for Cure against the 80 of Dark. And as Dark has stabilized on 4 bases right now after losing this 5th, it feels like his eco should be superior to his opponent. And that's also the case here. As we can see, 3.2k minerals a minute for Dark against the 2.1 for Cure. Cure doesn't have many mules mining either. He's afraid of using this energy. Probably wants to save a bunch for scans. At the same time, infestation pit already on the way. As we see Dark pretty much getting ready for a late game here. And, well, Cure back up to 68 workers. So lots of good worker production here after losing 22 SCVs. Is back up to 70. 5th base. Oh, if that gets cancelled again, that's pretty annoying. Yeah. Want to start saturating that at some point if you're Dark. I can only imagine. We have some major oversaturation in the main base. Minor oversaturation in the natural. And the other 2 bases, I bet, will be fine. Yep. So, yeah, you want to send 10, 12 workers to this base, and that's just simply not possible right now. Natural's about to mine out even further. Some of these patches are, yep, this one just popped. This one has 220, this one has 210. So soon you're going to have a full base worth of oversaturation on your main and natural. You're going to need to fix that, Dark. So that 5th base is absolutely vital to keeping his eco healthy. Cure now throwing down a bunch of mules means that his income is also going to skyrocket. Triple barracks on the way. We have 3-3 starting. There is going to be a 3-3 timing at which, well, Dark will not have 3-3 whatsoever. Dark will not even be close to 3-3. He's opting for +2 melee right now, as well as +1 range. Carapace upgrades are going to take a temporary backseat to those 2. It's because the Hive will finish up. Oh no, there's a 3rd Evo. That's a very cute move. I like that. It's going to start his +2 Carapace ASAP then, I guess. Baneling run-bys, trying to get a couple more kills. We'll get some more SCVs, but not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. 3 SCVs. I love these Bane drops. I wish you would continue using them. They're just so great. I really, really enjoy watching it as well. Powerful unit. We have Adrenal, we have Burrow, we have the +3 Carapace. So we have all those late game upgrades coming in right now. I'd love to see that Lurker then being thrown down as well. Or maybe some Viper starting to truly start getting going on that Hive tech. Lynx coming back for a flank. Banelings as well from the back. Dark's trying to crush this army. And I think he has a pretty decent chance at doing just that. Tanks are not completely sieged up yet. as tanks will get killed, but at the same time felt like Dark bled out a lot of units there. Similar worker count to his opponent, as Cure right now taking his 4th base finally with a planetary. Needs to be careful though, does not have the tank count that he previously had. And tanks are great for a couple of reasons. Reason number 1, they deal a lot of splash damage against Banes, which makes them great. But on top of that, they also tank quite a bit of damage, right? It is a very tanky unit, the tank is. And that often helps out. So the less you have, the harder it becomes to win these mass fights, like these maxed out fights. It just is significantly harder. Vipers are out. They don't have the energy yet, which means that we get another fight off creep without Vipers. And this one didn't look so great for Dark, honestly. Felt like he lost a lot of units there. Did not quite deal that much damage. 3-3 is about to finish up as well. And these reinforcements are going to be absolutely key. I would love for Cure to just relax for a little bit. Parasitic Bomb is going to get casted here on these medevacs. Good split off. Here come the reinforcements. 3-3, 15 seconds away from finishing as Dark gets pretty much the perfect timing on this fight. If these tanks siege up, all the reinforcements arrive and 3-3 finishes and we redo this fight, I feel like Dark just gets wiped off the freaking map. But he fights like 3 seconds before the reinforcements arrive. That was a huge deal. Not having the 3-3 was a big deal as well here, of course, for Cure. He's going to continue pushing forward with that upgrade lead right now. The Baneling count is still fairly high. The tank count is practically non-existent with only 2 here right now in this fight. But of course, every fight is going to be off creep. At the same time, Lynx pushing in towards the 3rd base, taking out a bunch of SCVs, now trying to right-click this orbital command. Cure not paying attention is going to end up losing it. A blunder here from the TERRAN player while he continues to push in. Banelings getting connections that perhaps they shouldn't. Vipers coming in, Blinding Clouds being cast. And I think with that, oh my god, Banelings is literally rolling into a tank. That might just turn it around once again into the favor of Cure here, who continues F2ing across the map. Dark trying to push this back. This is a very back and forth game in which tanks are being taken out at a high pace. Vipers helping out so much here. This army is overstimmed. Banelings now getting some connections into Marauders. And I think that Dark might have just held. If that orbital command doesn't go down on the 3rd base, I don't want to say this game is over in favor of Cure, but I think this game is fairly playable still for Cure, because right now it is starting to look a little bit dire. Yes, he has this 5th base, but as he doesn't have a 3rd anymore, this is now a 4th base once more. He loses an orbital with the ability to mule. There's 2 tanks stuck, which is really quite bad for him. Plus 2 vehicle weapons has finished up. Uh-oh. Medevac count here is pretty low too. And this gold base has now started mining. Dark can continue expanding towards the top side as well, especially now that this bad boy is gone. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of links being sent in to clear this sensor tower. Resources lost is only barely in favor of Cure, and that is somewhat surprising. Here come the Vipers there, my friends. It's going to be 1 Blinding Cloud, it's going to be 2 Blinding Clouds. And that is going to be it for the Vipers here. These Medevacs flying forward into the Hydra as they're out of energy. No healing to do no more. Oi, 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 oi. 61 SCVs to 79. Plus 3 range. 25% done at this point. Double Medevacs moving towards the far left side. I am very worried here for Cure. He's getting an orbital in this base, which is nice, but the moment that gets spotted, Dark is never going to let it go. I love how Cure plays that though. He says, hey, I'm going to pressure that left side and at the same time defend this base by being so far forward on that left flank. I think that is an absolutely brilliant move. At the same time, what is it, a quad drop heading over towards the goal, trying to snipe a couple of these drones. Drones coming back too early. Lynx are trying to fight. The Hydras push back those medevacs, and Cure not microing this medevac army. Well, Dark definitely was. Spores in the main base should be capable of taking care of this. Dropping into Spores is almost never worth it. It takes so long to take out a Spore. Such a hugely beneficial defensive structure for Zerg. Makes it so difficult for Terran to attack a base if there are Spores in position. Couple of abducts being casted as we now have 8 overlords being morphed. into Dropper Lords. And that is going to be, I guess, some type of like a Hydra Ling Bane drop. What are we looking at here? Okay, there's no Hydras, just the purest of Ling drops. Look at this. This is going to be so many Zerglings. Actually, so many Zerglings here in the main base. Still a lot of Lings on the map as well, because there's 135 Lings total. I think Dark might have caught on as to what is happening on the top left, as he's trying to move there with Lings. At the same time, here come the Dropper Lords. Here, not quite in position, is going to lose 1 or 2 Ghosts immediately. We'll lose quite a bit of production here as well, most likely. That's going to bottleneck his production quite hard. Uh-oh. Tanks are being taken out. Dark just really willing to trade at this point. Has a couple of these Lings burrowed as well. I mean, that is a Dark special if I've ever seen anything. It's going to lose him. Still a Dark special, though. Forced out a scan of someone that's on 3-4 orbitals. Yeah, 3 orbitals. Getting a scan out of there is not bad at all. Not bad at all. Matter of fact, gets taken out as well over here. Took out a couple of these tech labs, which means that Ghost production is going to be significantly harder. And I think this would be such a key timing for perhaps a Lurker transition if you want to. Now, if you don't want to go for Lurkers, then now it's not a good timing because you don't want them. But in low Ghost count, you've been constantly resetting tank counts, although Cure is quick to rebuild, is still at 5. Here comes a Ling run by to the top left. This is an absolutely key discovery here for Dark. Seeing that there's a base here, seeing that it's an orbital, not a planetary, he's going to try to bust as many SCVs as possible. Cure right now in a world of trouble. Banelings will connect with a bunch of these Marines. Yeah, this is actual trouble right now for Cure. 1600 mineral income a minute against 3.8k for Dark, who's still happily mining from that gold base as well. Viper's gonna start moving in, gets a single blinding cloud. Can we get a second one? Yes, of course we can. Planetary as well as tank at the same time. Oh, boof. There goes the planetary. And at the same time, Ling Bane blows up the planetary that was on the original fort base. And that will mean that Cure is now in an, well, practically unplayable position. He has no mining bases left. He has 19 SCVs. There's a massive bang for Dark. Dark can literally do whatever he wants. Don't forget that Dark... oh, actually, he's 3-3. I thought he was only going to be on +2 still with that range, but already has the +3. Wow. Love to see it. Viper now sucking some of that life energy from the hatchery away, but I think it's going to be irrelevant anyway. Baneling count is not quite super high, and as I say, that 20 Banelings roll in. Cure taps out with the GG, and Dark will tie up the series, forcing out the ace match. I hope we're gonna see a couple more Overlord drops over here, because personally I'm a big Overlord drop fan. I liked him in the early game. I like him in the mid game. I like him in the late game. I think the Overlord drop is also one of the most underutilized tools that the Zerg has in the Zerg versus Terran matchup specifically. Now, I understand it's quite expensive because you're going to need Overlord speed. You're going to need to get Dropper Lord, and you need units to put into it as well. And these are all costs that you usually would not be, willing to make in an early game. A lot of Zerg players just die or take a lot of damage against the first Terran push already. So I can understand why it is not super popular, but seeing it mixed in the way that Dark did just there, it feels so powerful. And it's one of these things you need to keep in account for the rest of the game. It's always there. It's similar to how the moment you borrow Banelings once, that will be a tool that you have for the rest of the game that Terran now needs to be kind of hyper aware of at all times when moving out, because 2 Banelings really can make a huge difference if they're burrowed, just like a couple of Banelings in Overlord can make a huge difference if they hit a mineral line. It really adds another layer of defense for Terran that they usually don't quite need to have. Don't forget, Terran as well as Protoss players against Zerg don't have to worry about any threats by air unless it's the Mutalisk. Most threats, 99% of the threats, are going to be through Ling or Baneling run-bys. That has always been the case in those matchups and will always remain the case. They wall the natural, and they often find walls around their third as well to try and mitigate that type of damage. And you kind of circumvent those walls by going for drops. This time around, out of Cure, we're not seeing a 2 Rex opener, so just a single Rex A little Reaper here, making his way across the map. He's going to start hitting those links pretty darn hard. 2 more links will pop out. 6 link defense for Dark against our good friend Cure. If Cure gets a kill here, I'd be surprised. No, he won't. Queen pops out, and that means... Ooh! Cheeky little inject here in that main as well as in the natural. Huh. Very different from what we usually see out of Zergs. Usually they always open up with 1 creep tumor. And the reason that is because I believe you do not quite have the cash to spend all of your larvae early on. And you're going to need to throw down creep tumors at some point anyway. So why get those larvae that early? You might be wondering. And I'm wondering that right now. Like I don't actually have an answer for that. I don't know. So we'll see. Well, there's going to be 2 larvae left over at this point. As we once again have double injects coming down. Larva could be used soon. An Overlord has started. Okay, I guess he's kind of fine. Maybe delays queens a little bit longer as well. Might be one of the reasons here. And he doesn't have a 4th queen yet. He's building them one by one. Usually both hatcheries are producing queens. So he's cutting queens for higher eco. Definitely cutting queens. Only a single queen, I think, got produced from the main base. This is extremely rare. Usually you see 2 queens being produced from the main base. We're going to have a couple more drones, though, because of that. I like that. I like to see it. Cloak Banshee. Well, fake Cloak Banshee really is. It's going to be a Viking opener. Could still be followed up by like a single Banshee or even maybe a double Banshee, but just a little bit unlikely. Most of the time it's a fake. It's a temporary fake. Maybe a Banshee gets built. Who knows? What do I know? Not a whole lot. Okay, it's going to be 1 Banshee as a follow-up as the Viking will start looking for Overlord right now. Dark has not scouted a whole lot yet with this Overlord. He's taking a path around. He's gonna arrive in his opponent's base once the 4th base goes down, basically. This guy lived through time periods, just flying around. Started flying in the early game, arrives in the mid game. Dedication, that is what that is. Constant hard work here. Coming out of the Overlord, and the hard work is now going to be stopped by the Viking that will end up finding it. There's another Viking that is pretty much in range of this watchtower and thus got spotted by Cure's Reaper. Dark needs to be quick with a pullback here, or I'll end up losing that one as well. Yep, there we go. Overlords get pulled back immediately. This one can probably stay alive because there's going to be a 4th base. The creep will cover this general area as well, so I'm not super worried about all of that. Early game here for Dark has looked absolutely fantastic. Very high worker count. And I think the reason why he cut out that queen, by the way, and went for the extra injects is probably because the map is Habitation Station. Habitation Station is one of those maps which makes it really easy to defend against Hellions because the rotations for Terran are so difficult. Imagine you get pushed back here. The only rotation you have is moving all the way out and going left or right, which is easily scouted by watchtowers or maybe even an Overlord over here. So the queens can move as 1 unit. On most other maps, they need to be split in 2 groups, but on this particular map, they can move as 1 unit. And if you just somewhat pay attention, it should be close to impossible to take any major damage against the cars. And as a result now, we have pretty decent eco for Dark. We have these gold minerals being mined as well already, and indeed a 5th base gets thrown down. Lair is fairly late, so the upgrades are quick, and we have Burrow on the way here. That's going to make life different. So, 2nd game he throws in a little bit of a curveball with the Overlord drops, and now he's going to throw in a little bit of a curveball here with the Burrow. Now, 5th base is going to get cancelled by these 2 Banshees. That is very frustrating for Dark, who ends up losing that drone. Also ends up losing the 75 minerals for the cancel. Another drone will end up falling. Banshees dealing quite some damage, but that means that the first push is going to be delayed. 4th base being built on position here. This is an extremely rare move that you almost never see in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. This is a Gumiho move. Gumiho is the only player that has the balls to do this usually. I guess Cure feels so secure because he has entire map. He has map control. Complete map control over here. Hellions, Banshees in the middle. Hellion plus Reaper over here on the top side tower. Triple Hellions on the bottom side. And now with those units out, he can probably start looking to maybe deny a base somewhere, some way. This car's going to get taken out as Burrow is ready to finish. Infestation Pit coming out as well here for Dark, who is still only on 68 workers, which is relatively low. We have double factory being added in here. before 2-2 starts, Fort Base finishes up in position. Is this going to be an orbital or is this going to be a planetary? I'm so freaking curious right now. Massive Ling attack is not going to do anything. If this is an orbital, this would be the highest tier play I've seen in my life. Okay, it's just going to be a planetary. It makes a lot more sense. But it's also less high tier. I freaking love seeing an orbital in this type of position. Cheeky little wall over here. Defensively would be okay, I think. But especially given the fact he's playing triple factory, that's a lot of tanks that are going to be constructed here. A lot of tanks that are going to be constructed. Stark has been really slow at getting up that worker count. I don't think he's quite aware of his opponent's fort base timing either. No, he definitely ain't. 75 workers for the Zerg against the 80 of Terran, and that is not a good sign. Creep has not expanded as quickly as I thought it would, could, given the fact that Cure hasn't really moved out with any major force on the map yet. Now we have this bottom side army that is going to deal a little bit of damage here. We have this top side army that's going to try and clear a couple of creep tumors and perhaps just keep map control. We have a 50C on the way. 50C, 3 extra barracks here. This is actually kind of a big deal. It's also rare to see a 50C before barracks 6, 7, and 8. Uncommon, but with this worker count, makes complete sense in my opinion. Or there's going to be some major oversaturation. Main base is ready to run out. Natural is going to be ready to run out at some... still a couple of hundred away from that happening. That means that 8 SCVs are going to be available from the main. They need to go somewhere, and they're going to go in towards a 5th base. So I do like that a lot. 88 workers right now here for Cure. He's creeping towards the 100 mark. He's going to have insane eco, and he's just setting up... He is not planning on killing his opponent. He's planning on winning this game in the long haul. He's going for that ultra mega late game setup here. So he will take out a couple of drones and tries to target down this hatchery. Hatchery is falling lower. Transfusers coming in right now. No banelings to help out. That means that this base will fall. Now, Dark still has 5 bases and has so little workers that honestly, he's not going to be oversaturated anywhere whatsoever. Dark did end up building a couple more after he lost them. So it's going to go up to 89 workers. Cure now up to 92. That is so many. That is so many workers. Double CC's going down. I mean, he's going to have infinite cash right now. He's actually going to have infinite cash. We're going to see random planetaries over here, maybe over here. You know, just every choke a planetary, I think, is something you definitely could end up doing. Ultra Cavern is on the way, which is odd, to say the least. We have chitinous plating. We have anabolics in pieces as well. 2 medevacs heading in towards the main base. They're going to get taken out. It doesn't really matter. I think, in a way, Cure almost shouldn't be building Marines anymore. Say, like, hey, I want to start transitioning into units that actually do something for me. Whether it's going to be Marauders or Ghost or just simply more tanks out of these 3 factories, I don't really care so much. We have a 4th factory now on the way, I think this is. Just going to do a quick count here. Wait, did he? Yeah, it's going to be a 4th factory. And I think that's going to be with a reactor to start pushing out Hellbats at some point. Wouldn't surprise me entirely. Gas income here is going to be off the charts once this 10th gas, well, it's technically a 9th gas, but it counts for 2. So we'll say the 10th gas, 10th and the 9th gas at the same time. Once this gets saturated, the gas income here is going to be pretty freaking bonkers. It already is pretty bonkers. Don't forget, it's 1400 gas a minute here for Cure. That's a lot of resources that are coming in. It really is a lot of resources. Now, double command centers also on the way. These Marines are looking to deal some damage. Not doing absolutely fantastic here. Lingbane will push it back. There's a lot of cash in the bank for Dark. Don't forget that, yes, Dark has a pretty significant bank, but at the same time, Cure is just spending that bank in orbital commands. I can always get that back at any point. With Mules, this is a very odd fight here out of Dark. I do not quite like this one. This is a fight that makes sense if you're fighting against someone that has 35 workers and is struggling to get money, not against someone that has orbital after orbital after orbital, because I just don't think this was a super efficient fight, and I don't think you can continue pushing. Like, you didn't clear enough. There's still 11 tanks. You basically cleared Marines, and you allowed your opponent to trade out those Marines efficiently, which is a bad thing to happen right now for the Zerg player, because the Zerg player wants to keep fighting against Marines for as long as possible, because Marines freaking suck in those long late game armies. New orbital's gonna get morphed as a planetary starts again over here as well. More and more CCs are being added in, and I think the main reason as to why Cure is not building more command centers is not because he doesn't have the cash, it's because he doesn't really have sufficient space to build them in a safe environment. Lots of links are running in right now. Tanks are in such a high numbers. 11 SCVs end up falling. Once again, a negative trade by about 2k resources here on the side of Dark. This is not the way you want to go about it. He is not mining from side bases. He is not mining from any of his opponent's bases. Like, this is really, really bad for Dark. It actually is. Now, it doesn't perhaps look that way, but it is the case. Like, if we're looking at a map like Neo-Humanity, I think split map scenarios are so freaking likely. And thus Dark, if he wants to play this aggressive style, this trading style, rather than going straight for a massive late game army, he needs to start taking bases of his opponent ASAP. And he's simply not doing that. He hasn't taken... Like, he's not even mining from his own bases yet. Like, he's struggling to get stuff out. This base needs to be mining for Dark. This base needs to be mining for Dark. And it should have complete priority for him. These, like, any resource you take from your opponent basically counts double because, you know, you're getting it and your opponent isn't getting it. So if you outmine one of your opponent's bases, that is a huge freaking deal. So if you're doing two at the same time and you keep them for 4 or 5 minutes, yeah, you're going to be in a pretty darn great spot. Problem for Dark being here is that I think this top base is also in a little bit of danger. Like, it's not like he's mining a lot from it either. Middle base hasn't mined a crap ton either. Dark has completely focused on basically mining out the safe bases, which is the last thing he should be focusing on right now. We have +3 vehicle weapons that are on the way. Once that finishes up, Hellbats are going to be infinitely stronger. With Blue Flame, also known as Infernal Pre-Igniter, and +3, Hellbats are capable of splash one-shotting Lings, which means that Ling run-bys and Ling attacks, kind of the way that Dark likes to play, becomes significantly worse here. Good blinding clouds with Vikings in the sky are helping the zoning. One more blinding cloud comes in, snipes going down, tanks in the back helping out just a little bit. 20k lost against 13k lost. And Ghosts are still alive now, moving forward, trying to get a couple of snipes in. Double Medivacs could evacuate this, but instead Cloak just gets used. There's another Ultra gets taken out here. Oi, 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 these are issues. These are some real issues. Turrets once again being rebuilt, and the dance continues. This is not a very positive dance for Dark, if I may say so. Hellbats will clear this. Not quite one-shotting those Lings yet, of course. Liberators now being added in as well. And I think the only way that Dark can truly start moving into a proper late game at this point is if he goes into Infestor Broodlord. And that's the only composition I can see making any sense here whatsoever. And he's just not doing it yet. Okay, it's gonna get 6 Broodlords. These Broodlords do not have any upgrades whatsoever to speak of. I mean, yeah, this is going to be rough. It is going to be real rough. There's a couple of Infestors here. Base still not mining. This base is now mining, significant amount. This base ain't mining. Banshees once again will start moving over there. Broodlord's going to try and help out. Thors have already started at this point. Don't forget, they have pretty decent upgrades. Viking helping out in the air. It's just one Viking that's already dishing out quite a bit of damage. Dark is just one bad fight away from not being capable of remaxing, while Cure is like 7 bad fights away from not being able of remaxing. Army value is in favor of Dark, but I just don't see how he's going to do it. Oh, a couple of snipes here. Going down as another Broodlord's going to get taken out. 8 drones going down at the same time. I think the Liberators might have something to do with that, as larvae are also being shot at. Now, this bottom side base most likely is going to end up falling, unless the snipes will go through in time, but they won't. SCVs end up dying too. But once again, I think a bad trade overall here for Dark, who will take out another planetary. Now, as I said, all of this is absolutely fantastic, Dark, if you have infinite resources and you're taking your opponent's bases. Right now, you have no resources. You can't even max out anymore. This has just been absolutely terrible, as 3 Thors are on the way as well. I think once those arrive, once the Hellbats start moving in, I think Cure can just pretty much decide to do whatever he wants. He can literally move across the map right now and have a pretty decent chance of killing his opponent. He has a way bigger army. I don't know how Cure knows that this is when Dark ran out of cash, but I guess he's just always hyper aware. There's a couple of Broodlords in the sky. There's a couple of Infestors on the ground as well. There's a Link Run by gets set up over here. Hellbat's already in position to deal with it. Look at that. He's just destroying Links. It's not even close. Thor's defensively trying to help out as well. So at the same time, this is going to happen. A big fight. Well, a big fight. There's a big Terran army, but there's not a very big Zerg army at all. And any amount of Hellbats here are going to stop all these Links that are being produced. WW gets called as Cure wins the game. And as a result wins the series with a 2-1 score. The man, the myth, the legend. A specific strategy, a different strategy for every single map, executed near perfectly. And I think that is pretty much Cure in a nutshell in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. He understands how these builds interact with one another. He understands how these builds interact with the map as well. He plays them, he executes them well. You can hardly see any errors in decision making. Sometimes in the execution there are some mistakes, but his decision making I actually think is second to none. He is the greatest decision maker in the entire Terran world right now, and I don't think that is an over exaggeration at all. I'm really curious how it's going to perform later on in the GSL, but this is going to be it for me now. Thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye bye.